I forgot to say this at the top. We are on Facebook Live right now, people. Hive Live. The show's called Hive Life, but it's live because we are on Facebook Live, and we're also recording this for use in a future episode of the podcast. So, 4 more great Hive athletes up here next to me, and just as we did before, I don't know if you were here for it, Mohammed just walked in. He had some elite athlete duties to take care of. Please just move down the line, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and share one important thing about your presence or your journey here in New York City. It could be a goal that you have, it could be a training insight that you had, it could be something about your past that you just feel is important about your journey.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Mohammed Herezi. I'm coming up here from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so not too far. It's crazy because I never thought I'd be running marathons. I used to be a shorter distance guy, but I actually am looking to hopefully finish like top 10 tomorrow. So the goal would be use that to hopefully qualify for the Libyan national team.
I'm just going to pause here real quick because this is one of my favorite things about our sport, how humble our best athletes are. Mohammed, just in case you guys didn't hear, hoping to finish in the top 10 in the New York City Marathon. Your PR is?
I've run 2:18, but I haven't mastered the marathon yet, so I haven't done one in 4 years.
2:18, it's so slow. And Mohammed's running the Olympics. Yeah, ran in the 2016 Rio Olympics for Libya. Yeah. So it's really cool to have not only an Olympian, but somebody who's going to be at that really front of the pack tomorrow. And that's one of the great things about New York. It's such a rare thing. If you're a golfer, you don't get to play in the Masters in the foursome behind, Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. But in running,
I'm not Tiger Woods. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, there's a lot of great athletes, and it's really a cool experience. We all suffer the same.
There you go. Suffering is the thing that unites us. Okay, Bo.
I'm Bo Brewer. I am from Atlanta, Georgia. This will be my 6th marathon and my first New York City Marathon. Probably one thing that recent development in my life, I have an 8-month-old at home. So, I say at home, she's probably napping in the hotel right now, hopefully, with my wife. So, but as far as marathon training goes, I think we all the fellow marathoners understand it's dedication. It takes a lot of time to train for a marathon, to take it seriously, to put the miles in. So having an 8-month-old at home just kind of completely threw my day-to-day schedule out of whack. So I had a little worry that I wouldn't be able to commit the time necessary. But you find a way to do it. If it's important to you, you find a way to fit it into your schedule. So I've been hitting the early pre-sunrise miles for the last few months.
Right on. All right.
My name's Debbie Register from Florida. So it was about 96 degrees on Halloween, and this weather is fantastic. So I'm excited about that. A unique thing about this particular training cycle for me is the day I got into New York Marathon, I found out I was pregnant. So now I'll be running about 6 months pregnant, and my training has been unpredictable and taking each day as it comes. So I will not be in the elites. I'll be probably 4 to 9 hours behind him, but it'll still be a great experience because it's New York City. So you definitely can't say no when you get in.
Congratulations.
My name is Gary Snow, and I'm from just east of Raleigh, North Carolina. It's Selma, North Carolina. Sometimes when I get mail, it'll have Selma, Alabama. I'm not from Alabama. Anyway, my journey started back in December of 2014, I would say, my journey to New York, because at that point I was 304.6 pounds. And I was at a doctor's appointment, and my doctor said, "You've got to lose weight." I was on high blood pressure medicine, cholesterol medicine. I had sleep apnea. All of that was related to my weight. I had had back surgery back in 2008. That didn't help, and just had gone through a painful divorce. And so all of that, stress eating and everything, combined to where I was at. And I knew I needed to make a change because I have 3 children of my own and a wonderful stepson as well. I wanted all of them to see all of them graduate. I wanted to set a better example for them. And at that point, my doctor was threatening to send me to a bariatric surgeon, and I said, no, this is something I can make a change in. And I found out just through educating myself how important what we put on our fork, how important of a difference that makes in our life. And so I began that journey in January of 2015. The only thing I could do at that point was get on a elliptical for about 10 minutes before I was gassed. And so I just took one day at a time, stayed on there as long as I could, and just started adding it up until it just made sense. And by Father's Day that year, I had lost 50 pounds, and I went to see my brother run a 5K, and he talked me into running a 5K in Wilmington the next month. And I thought he was crazy. 1 month to train, and I've not run since college, and then I think something was chasing me. But anyway, I did it, and I was hooked, and since then, it's just been an incredible journey. I got to run the Boston Marathon this year. I was able to do so as a charity runner. I raised, thank you, $10,260 for youth and adult mentoring for mass mentoring partnerships in Boston, and was able to represent them. They're a wonderful organization. But I would say that the biggest change in my running this year, I've run 1,073 miles as of today. Wow. And honey stingers fueled every one of those miles and has made such a difference. For me, nutrition-wise, probably my favorite thing is the waffles. I love the waffles, especially the chocolate and vanilla. That's like my Achilles heel. But it provides the strength I need for all those miles. And it's just been an incredible ride, and I can't wait to see where else I get to go.
304.6. I love that you added the 0.6. Why do you include that?
Well, because when you're down to 194.6, it's really nice to be able to say you lost 110 pounds or something. You know?
So that was going to be my next question.
Yes.
What are you at now?
Yeah, about 195. So yeah.
Wow. Can you talk a little bit more about that 5K? You said it was when you ran that you got hooked on running. What was it? Was it when you crossed the finish line? Did something come to you during the race?
I would say, and that's a really cool race down there in Wilmington, downtown Wilmington. It's the only one on the East Coast, I believe, still that it crosses. Only if you do the 10K anyway, that crosses all three bridges there in the downtown Wilmington area. So it's beautiful. But the crowds are always great, and I think it's the running community that really sparked the interest in running for me. Meeting the people I've met. The very next year, my brother ran with 7 other runners. Some of them you may know. Charlie Engle, Catcher Corbett, David Clark, and they ran across the United States to highlight mental health. And I got the chance to run with Catra down in South Carolina, and that was incredible to see, know her story and hear her story, and just see how running has changed people's lives. And I've seen that in my own life too.
Debbie, congratulations again on your pregnancy. This is not the first time that you have done quite a bit of running while you're pregnant, right?
It is not. So I have a toddler. He just went outside to go play in the waterfall, I think, in the circle. But yes, I have a 2.5-year-old, and I ran my entire pregnancy with him. And I had actually qualified for Boston about 3 weeks before I got pregnant with him. And so then, again, poor timing or great timing, I'm not sure. But I ran Boston about 11 weeks postpartum. I finished. It was, of course, not a PR, but again, you can't say no when you get in, and if you have the means to do it. So this time I'm hoping to continue running my whole pregnancy. I just ran Boston in April, and of course got pregnant a couple months later. So I feel like Boston might be like, I don't know, some sort of lucky charm or something for us if we want more kids. So, but yeah, so this time, I'm 6 months pregnant, and this is a new experience because I've never run a marathon pregnant. I've trained all through pregnancy, but usually I kept my mileage under 10 miles each run or less. And this time I have done the 20 milers, and I've reached about 40 to 45 miles a week on my average runs. So
this has changed quite a bit over the years, in part because there have been some elite athletes who've been out there running visibly while pregnant. Alicia Montano on the track, Paula Radcliffe did a lot of running when she was pregnant.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious, did you get any weird looks from people when you were out there? Did people say things to you?
Sometimes, yes. When I was pregnant with my son 2.5 years ago, I feel like it kind of blew up. The pregnancy running has gotten a lot more positive feedback in the last 2 years. Because back then, it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it because I was on Google and I was looking at blogs and I was trying to find people who had running plans or experience, what to expect if you're having contractions or stretching or pain or whatever. What is this? And is this normal for running or pregnancy? And I couldn't find anything. But this time, just a couple weeks ago, I was looking, and it's out there everywhere. So I think people are more accepting now. Doctors are more willing to say, if you've been running and training, you're good to keep going through your pregnancy. But I think those elite athletes too have helped change kind of the visual too you get of a pregnant woman running. But I do still have people say things or ask if it's okay, even sometimes my family. They're like, are you sure you should be doing this? But we didn't actually reveal my pregnancy until yesterday publicly to our friends. So my family's only known about 2 months that I've been pregnant because I wasn't showing very much. So I've been able to keep this one under wraps, but here I am, and here's the baby. So
When are you getting your eyes tattoo on your arm?
maybe the next Boston, I'll have 3 eyes. I don't know.
Tell me a little bit about how you got started running. Clearly you love it, right? I mean, it's something
Yes.
that you just do not want to give up during
Correct.
pregnancy.
Yes.
But you had an interesting beginning.
Yes. So my dad was a runner. I thought when I was little that he was the fastest person on the planet, of course. And I remember he told me he used to run 100-mile weeks, and he ran one marathon in Tampa, and it was so hot that he quit. Or maybe he finished really slow. I'm not actually sure the whole story at this point. But I do know in high school he was very fast. So when I got to high school, I decided I would start running. I was terrible at it. I got last place in several cross-country meets, dead last. So I kind of quit, and then I restarted again after college when I was a teacher, and trained for a half marathon in Disney, and I broke my pelvis. And we weren't really sure what happened. I couldn't walk, crutches, wheelchair, the whole 9 yards on that. Spent a year to almost 2 years relearning to walk and run properly, and come to find out I had osteoporosis. So I was 25 when I was diagnosed with osteoporosis, and since then I've run I think 10 or 11 marathons now. My first one was Chicago in 2013, so I've done 10 since then with no broken bones, no stress fractures, really no major injuries. Occasionally my pelvis will hurt a little bit, and I just remember that, I need to do the prehab routines too. But nutrition is so important with that, especially with osteoporosis. I did not have an eating disorder growing up. There was really no symptoms. It's probably hereditary for me. But with that, diet on a daily basis is super important to make sure I'm getting all the nutrients, and then especially while I'm running. So, that's how I found Honey Stinger, because it's natural, it's organic, and easy to carry. I was doing some of the goos, other brands, and they have all you can't read the ingredients basically. And my dietitian said, maybe you should switch over to something that you can also use when you're not running. So if I was teaching and on my feet all day and I hadn't gotten a lunch break, I could just grab something quick. So that's how I found Honey Stinger.
So why not just stop? Broken pelvis, couple pregnancies, nobody would blame you if you just gave up running for a while. What is it about running?
I kind of wanted to prove them wrong. I think I might have like an anarchist streak in me or something, but they told me I probably wouldn't be able to run and ever run marathons, and I don't know what got into me one day, but I just decided to do it. My coach, I'd found a running group where I lived, and my coach kind of joked with me about doing the Chicago Marathon, and then my running buddy decided to do it, and then suddenly I was running marathons, and I'm kind of a run nerd now with nutrition, and I spread all the information, and I tell everybody, as much as I know. Of course, it's my personal opinion, and you have to check with your doctors and dietitians and things like that. But I just found that it keeps my sanity. I don't know. Runners are a unique breed,
So Bo, you also have had a pretty transformational experience through running.
Yeah, I have. So actually, it's funny you mentioned losing about 100 pounds. I was about 225 pounds after college, and people look at me now. It's funny when I go back to college reunions or whatnot. They'll say, "Wait, Bo, what?" And at some point you kind of reach a point, whatever that point is, where you say, "Enough with this." You don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel healthy. You don't. Everything just seems like it's a struggle. Just living. Just getting up and going to. The thought of a 5K was probably I wouldn't have even thought about a 5K. And one day I was probably 23, 24 years old, and I just decided to go out there. I'd run cross country in high school and tried to pick it back up, and went maybe a mile, probably not. I just parked at a park, ran as far as I could, and said, all right, well, I have to get back to my car somehow. And you just repeat that day in, day out, and then eventually you start to see progress, and you see, you see yourself making strides, and you start to feel better about yourself. I started sleeping better at night, and nutrition-wise, I didn't even have to change my diet at first, to see results, but eventually you don't do it to continue seeing results. You change your diet and you start eating healthy because you want to feel better, and you want to feel better about your running, and you want to fuel yourself as best you can. And I know Honey Stinger's been a huge help, even back then when I was kind of earlier on in my running. So my running journey is not quite as long. It's only about 7 years old, but
Over what period of time did it take for you to lose 100 pounds?
it was probably, I started running in about 2013, and it was 2015 that I ran a half marathon, and that's probably when I hit the 100-pound mark.
Well, congrats to you as well. It's almost like there's another person up here. There could be another person up here, right? Mohammed, tell us a little bit about what it's like to run in the Olympics.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of looked at the Olympic year, didn't know what distance I should even attempt. And it was 3 months before the Olympics, and I was attempting my, at that point, like second marathon ever. And we were looking at the weather, it was hot, humid, and just not the day that we were expecting. So I remember that moment to this day, like crossing the finish line and knowing that I had hit the standard. And then when I got to the Olympics, I flew in the day of the opening ceremony because I was getting ready for grad school, and I was flying back right to grad school, so it was like a pretty quick turnaround in the 2 weeks. And I get in, and I walk into my room, and like the Olympic committee's in there, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, you're going to be the flag bearer." So I had no idea, so that kind of like blew me away. And so that entire night was just kind of like a blur when I got there. I remember standing there in the line with the flag bearers, and I seemed to be the only person who was like 140 pounds, skinny, short. Like even the girl in front of me was from some Scandinavian country, or it was like Latvia or Lithuania or something, and she was like 6'2", and I was struggling to hold the flag, but
The runner hold the.
yeah. So instead of congratulations text, I got a bunch of texts from my so-called funny buddies saying, "Were you okay out there holding the flag? You looked really serious." So I was like focused as hard as I could to make sure I didn't drop it.
How big is the Libyan delegation?
It wasn't that big. It's pretty small. The country's only like 6 million people, so it's a relatively small country. Second biggest in Africa, though, in terms of size, but like 99% desert. So I don't remember how many. We had like maybe 25 people out there, so it was relatively small. But we were loud. We made sure we made an impact. And it was just so cool. I had so many friends from all across the world that I had met before then met during the 2 weeks I was there. Going for runs every day, you kind of join anyone. So I mean, runners at the elite level are as friendly as runners at the beginner level. So it's the same sense of community. You wake up, you go for your run. It's almost like a 3-mile loop around the campus, and if you found anyone from any country, you can just be like, "Hey," and start a conversation and have lunch with them later that day. So it's definitely a cool experience, and I made a lot of good friends from the running community.
I want to shift into talking a little bit about training now, and start with you. I'm fascinated by elite level training, partly because it's hard enough to train for a marathon, right? As most of us or all of us know. But can you talk a little bit about what your training is like, what the volume is like, some of your key workouts? It's obviously different from what the rest of us do in terms of its intensity, but my hunch is that it also feels a little bit familiar in terms of the approach.
Yeah, so probably feels a lot familiar. So previous to this year, I was a full-time runner. Then I started my grad school and kept running. And then I got a full-time job after grad school. And so my own manager to this day is like, "I still can't believe you're doing this." She gave me 6 months when I started to be able to manage both. So it feels like everyone else now, right? Like I'm up at 5 a.m. at the latest most days. Wake up. I try to wake up early because I need like at least 45 minutes to kind of just be in peace before I start my day. Because like once I start my run, it's like nonstop till I get back to bed. So yeah, wake up. Basically that first hour of the day, I'm sipping coffee.